So maybe you can tell that this week is about giving love. And Wayne, your reading this morning fit right into that perfectly. It was beautiful. Thank you. So let's look at the word love for a moment. Love can often be a fluffy word. It's a feels good word. I know that there have been times when my children have said, love, 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 is that all you can talk about? And I've said, absolutely. To the point that in their adult years, they would come to me and say, oh my gosh, Mom, I found myself telling someone the other day that the only thing they needed to be was love. And I just nod, smile. You know it all along, right? Eventually, we all get it. Some of us, it takes a little longer to get than for others. But the thing with love is that we miss it when we don't feel like we have it. It can hurt when we feel like we lose it. Love can be an emotion, and oftentimes we equate it with simply an emotion. But love is so much more than that. Today we're speaking of love as a way of life, a way of living our life. And love is natural. When we feel in love, be it with another person or a job or a friend or just life itself, when we feel in love, it feels very familiar, very natural. It feels heavenly, and it feels like home. And the reason for that is because love is you. That is really all we are, is love. And then we show up here in this experience and have all kinds of experiences. And most of us step out of that from time to time. But we can always return to it. And the quicker that we realize that truth, and the more frequently we practice it, the more we really live it. So love as you means that we can use love to change our life. And we can therefore use love to change the lives of everyone else. And here to share for a few moments about love is the love of my life, Reverend David Stork.
Oh, wow. Well, I am infused by love, so it's easy for me to be the love of your life. What you give, you shall receive. So what is love? What is that power of love? I like the idea that love is the unifying force of the universe. It is that one energy that prevails all of that which is. And we could look at it in terms of the quantum idea that it's the unified field, is that which holds everything together. Quite often in science we think of that which is physical, and so we would say that which holds everything together is gravity. But we also know that all that which is physical comes from a non-physical essence. And so therefore, love is that which holds all together. It holds everything together. So it's a great power, but how do we use it? Well, we know how we use it in terms of relationship, and like Deborah and I were talking about. We know how that love feels and how to use it. But in terms of how do we give love to the world or to others, it's kind of a challenge. Sometimes, not always. Lao Tzu says, water is fluid, soft and yielding, but water will wear away rock, which is rigid and cannot yield. As a rule, whatever is fluid, soft, and yielding will overcome whatever is rigid and hard. This is a paradox. What is soft is strong. Pretty fascinating idea, isn't it? We've all seen that working in nature, haven't we? What if we change that word from water to love? Love is fluid, soft, and yielding. But love will wear away anything which is solid, which is rigid and cannot yield. As a rule, whatever is fluid, soft, and yielding will overcome whatever is rigid and hard. Therefore, love is strong. Do you get it? That little idea, that little sense of holding the world together on our part is very powerful, and it can shave off the rough edges of all those things in our environment. In ancient China, the Taoists taught that a constant inner smile, a smile of oneself, a smile to oneself, ensured health, happiness, and longevity. The reason for that is that smiling to yourself is like basking in love. You become your best friend. Living with an inner smile is to live in harmony with yourself. Now, once again, I'm going to shift the word smile to love. To constantly have an inner smile, to constantly have inner love, to love oneself ensures health, happiness, and longevity. The reason for that is that loving yourself is like basking in love. You become your own best friend. You love, living an inner love is to live in harmony with yourself and with the world. So now, speaking of the world, how do we apply that to the world? What if you project that idea, not just loving yourself, but loving the world? So let's go back and say that sentence again. Constantly have a love of projecting into the world. Love the entire world, therefore ensuring health, happiness, and longevity to your surroundings. Love the world. Loving the world is basking in love. You become the best friend to the world, and the world is your best friend. Living with love and projecting love into the world is to live in harmony with yourself and with the world. Simple, isn't it? To give love is simply to feel it within ourselves, to know it within ourselves, and then begin to project that same feeling out into our environment. And as it goes out into our environment, it begins to grow, and therefore we begin to love the entire world. You may not always see the results of your love in the world, the way you don't always see the results of simple little kindnesses in the world. But every bit of positive energy that you contribute out into your environment makes it a better place for all of us. Because remember, all is one energy, all is one love. And as you love the universe, you love yourself, and it begins to mirror back to you. Every choice you make is either an expression of love or an expression of fear. Which one of those are you projecting into the world? If you watch the news, you are always a choice to go to love or to go to fear. You can embody the fear that's going on around us, or you can love the world and create a change. Every choice you have is either love or fear. You know, we're not here to figure it all out. That's not our job here on this planet. Our job is to make a difference if we can, and we can. We're here to love life and to let it love us back. What we release into our environment returns to us. And the more it returns to us, the more we have to release back into the universe, what Sarah was talking about. As we receive, therefore we have the opportunity to give even greater. And the more we give, the more we receive. Buddha says, everyone is trying to find the right person, but nobody's trying to be the right person. Ernest Holmes says, if you want a friend, be a friend. If you want love, be love. If you want to see love in the world, emit love into the world. And you will be able to see it mirrored back to you in your environment. And you will be able to see it start to grow very gradually. You may not see all the total effects of it, but you will know that the more you hold love in your heart, the more the world will respect you, and the more the world will follow suit. Don Miguel Ruiz, he says, you express your own divinity by being alive and by loving yourself and others. You express your own divinity by being love in the world. Love is the bridge between you and everything, and is what holds you to everything. Basically, it's what holds the universe together. It's one unit.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Maybe you should have gone second. Because here's where the rubber's gonna meet the road, baby.
The application, that's good.
Well, sort of. In my talk about love, I began looking at all the different things that we could do, and it just didn't feel right. Last week felt right. If you weren't here, I talked about how God doesn't need us, but we do need God. And so we better change some of our ways. That feels right for me. So here we go. It is a fact that atrocities occur in our world and in our nation, our state, our community. We hear, see, and maybe even act out of hate, anger, and fear. Those that do act, speak in this manner, they want company. Misery loves company. They want us to hate, to give in, to give up, to get worn down, to hear and see it enough that we believe that it's the new way. To turn our backs on our beliefs and our values. They want to get in our heads. However, I believe, and I hope you believe, that there are more people in this world who want loving kindness. Our founder spoke about loving kindness, and our founder gave us a multitude of ways to live in loving kindness. And it begins within ourselves and within our thoughts. We must be strong enough and collective enough to overcome fear, strong enough to keep on loving, and strong enough to be that love in the world. Because love is the very impulse of life itself. Now imagine my thrill at saying what I said last week, because I tend to be a little on the cautious side with not really coming out and saying all that I think about the world and what we need to do to change it. But I'm getting more gutsy in my old age. Imagine my thrill when I found those same words from Ernest Holmes, but such different words, and he said them so eloquently and beautiful, and I was like, that's what I said. And then I reread them and I said, well, he didn't really say, God does not need you, baby. Here's what he did say. It really means the same thing, but it's beautifully stated. It would seem to be a fundamental fact that love is the basic reality of life. This would in turn give rise to a firm conviction that God is love. God, creative intelligence, depends on his creation for expression. That's us. The expression is us, depending on God for its existence. God could never stop creating or loving. Neither can the creation cease loving or expressing God without limiting its experience of the source of its existence, in which case it would gradually cease to be. In the mind of man, we find the only created thing which can consciously deprive itself of accepting God's love. And when this is done, the results are disastrous. Wow! I was like sitting at home reading my book going, yay, Ernest, once again, you have those perfect words. It is love that is going to heal this world. And every time that we see or hear an incident that seems to us to be out of alignment with love, with creation, with the natural beauty of life itself, it is for us to know truth about it. When we have the opportunity to speak our word, to share, then it's wise to do that if we know that it can make a difference. Or if we believe that it could make a difference. But always, and I know Sandy said this in her giving talk, I'm going to repeat it again because I've said it too. Always there is an opportunity to pray. When we see anything that looks like fear, hate, anger, destruction, it is for us to immediately enter into the inner chamber and pray. And to know the truth. To know that that hatred, that fear, that ugliness is not the truth of who we are. Nor is it the truth of who that other, because there's only one, person is. There is one mind, and that mind is of love. And for us to continue existing, we too must create a world that works well for everyone. I love the mission vision for our center. And then I found a beautiful quote from Ernest Holmes that tells us how. So pray, of course. Love overcomes both hate and fear. However, love does not overcome hate and fear through controversy, argument, or force. Hence why I said, if you feel that it's right to speak out and it can make a difference, go for it. But never when it's only going to cause more controversy, argument, and force. Here's how love does overcome. By a subtle power of transformation, transmutation, and sublimation. It is invisible in its essence. That's what our prayer is all about. Invisible in its essence, but apparent through its act. As light overcomes the darkness, as the presence of heat causes the coolness of a room to change until it is warm and comfortable, so the radiant action of love and peace dissipates fear, hate, and confusion. Love is the victor in every case. So obviously I was reading a lot of Holmes this week, not today too. And they had a story, and I know that it's a story about people, but it's a story Ernest tells about his wife, and I thought, wow, you know what? This is the subtle power of transformation, transmutation, and sublimation. So he tells a story about when they were first dating, and his wife's name was Hazel. However, her friend, Adela, named her Madam Buddha. And the reason that she was given this name, Madam Buddha, was because her friend believed that she was imperturbability. She had imperturbability. Woo, that simply means not being perturbed by things. Maybe not being offended. Right, and not being offended by things that are of the world. So Ernest loved this about Hazel also. And so when they were dating, he invited her to go with him to his friends, and his friends lived quite a distance from there. They had to go through the desert to the High Sierra, and Hazel took him up on it, and they went in Ernest's old Studebaker. Now, keep in mind, going through the desert back in those days, they did not have the comfort and luxury of the air conditioning that we are enjoying right now. So Ernest drove along, and they did get a distance, quite a distance, and then they got a flat tire. Now, if you know much about Ernest, you know that he was not mechanically inclined. And so when they got a flat tire, of course, on one of his first dates with this girl, he wanted to look good. So unlike my husband, he did not know what to do, but he got out and made a try of it anyway. And it took him hours to change that tire. And he tells the story that Hazel just sat in her seat in the front, and every now and then would just call out an encouraging word to him to let him know that keep on keeping on, you're doing a good job. I don't know what she said, he didn't say that part. But he encouraged them while she sat and baked there in the heat. And then they resumed their drive, and went a little distance and pop, suddenly another tire went flat. This time they had no spare. So Ernest shuffled around in the back until he found a patch kit, and it took him hours before he could get the car tire patched back up and back on again. And he says that throughout that entire time, Hazel was encouraging, but she spoke very little, and she just sat there very serene and patient. And it was about 2 a.m. when he finally got the tires fixed. And Hazel suggested that maybe he'd like to get into the back seat and just lay down and take a nap. And he thought that sounded like a good idea. In the back seat, they had a whole lot of baskets of fruits and vegetables that they were bringing to their friends. So he unloaded those and then laid down and took a nap. And he decided right then and there that he was in love. This beautiful woman who was supportive and calm emerged from the Studebaker the next day, completely calm. He says her hat was tipped at the proper angle, and not a spot of dust was on her immaculate white gloves. She had never voiced one complaint, and he decided right then and there that she was the girl for him. After Hazel made her transition, when someone would ask Ernest how he was doing, he would always respond, "I lean on love. I lean on love." Whether it is our relationships in life with one another, whether it is finances, whether it is health, whatever it is in life, if we lean on love, we will always have success, because love is the fulfillment of the law. And so it is.